a job. And the thing that I found that was really big is that I started listening to a bunch of like personal development stuff and started ending up doing what became data science. So written 2 books for O'Reilly that are behind me. Lots of cool stuff has happened in my life. I'm really grateful for all of that. I think more than that, I get really excited about, this is where Joe and I actually met, is that I get really excited about teaching, mentoring people. It's kind of my big thing these days because like, you know, I love machine learning and data science, but I just love working with people because like I've gotten so much value out of personal development and just I've gotten a lot of value out of other people. So like I gotta pay it forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we've both been, as well as probably you guys on the call, that fortunate enough to have some really good mentors in our lives and people that have been there for us as we go through the ups and downs, whether it's technically or personally. So yeah, whatever we can do from our experience to help others, and and you guys, the things that you share with other people and with us also helps us as well. So that's really why we're here. But yeah, I know. I remember when Matt and I first met at the Strata conference, we just sat down, had a cup of coffee, and we were just talking about personal development the whole time. And it was like, we originally met talking technical, and somehow we landed into the world of Tony Robbins and personal development. So
yeah, I mean it's one of these things for you guys, like, is that we were at Strata, so like Joe and I, like, I mean, we live and breathe data science. I know Joe's got a lot of experience with like telecommunications, and I mean his experience is pretty deep. The thing is that like I find that like some of the real big benefits that I've had in my career, it's like, yeah, I mean, I've written for O'Reilly, and I have a master's degree in computer science and these things. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't take the time to like set a goal or some of the basics. So yeah, I mean, it's since we got 2 guys, what do you think, Joe? Should we talk about like what we're going to talk about, like personal goal setting, or do you want to just do like an open forum? I mean, I'm really open to either. And it's also like,
yeah, I mean, we could open the lines for any questions that you guys have right off the bat. If there's nothing specific that you want to talk about, we could just talk about what we planned on, goal setting.
yeah,
That works for everybody. So just one thing I want to mention before we get started is we are recording this video. So just make sure that you guys, whatever you're going to be sharing, is not something you want to be kept as a secret. We do have other forums where you can privately talk to Matt and I, and and ask things that you want to keep private, but just assume that the world's going to hear anything that you say on here. So if you want to drop off, that's cool. But if you want to stay on, just know that we're going to be sharing this recording with other folks that couldn't attend today. So just want to put that out there. All right, cool. So yeah, my dog's excited about the call.
yeah, I'm
It's,
really curious. I'm really curious to hear about you guys, Adrian and Garrick. I mean, since we got 2 people, this is actually a really great thing because like we get to know you a little better. So like, you guys like maybe make a quick introduction to yourselves. I'd really love to just get to know you a little better.
Yeah, I can start. And Joe, yeah, I've had kind of a really round a careening career, like as well. Like I was in college at the time the 2009 crisis, the 2008 crisis came through, and basically, and I mean, there were choices I made that were poor at the time, but like essentially.
Oh, I think we lost them.
you know, I kind of even self-denied about it, why about how it was kind of affecting me psychologically.
Mhm.
I thought I was just like, all right, find a job and find some money to pay for college and get through it slowly. But it's hard to kind of keep up with both to kind of uh, both to try to earn the money to get a good education and keep and keep at it. So it was very difficult to go through it slowly, and then and the most universities. I think now it's changing, but
Yeah.
most universities at that time were just not built to for the kind of part-time student
Yeah.
setup. There just wasn't infrastructure there at the time. And I'll probably, if I probably eventually do finish my bachelor's, which I still haven't done, it'll probably have to be like looking for the school that has set up that way. And I think a few are coming online, but it, so that was sort of very, very difficult. So as I continue, and then part of it was sort of convincing myself that I was still, like I was gaining, my career was growing, and trajectory was still upward, even if it was even if it wasn't slow. And then I was gaining get valuable work experience,
Yeah.
even as it wasn't uh, uh, even though I had to not put, basically being able to not put highest put more than highest degree earned high school diploma on a lot of job applications. That, I mean, even now that's still painful to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took it. I've gotten to the point where I can kind of confidently say, like, you know, I can still be better off for you, better value for you than somebody fresh out of college with a CS degree.
Absolutely.
In certain
Yeah.
respects for certain positions.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, Garrick. And I want to recognize the fact that, we all make choices. And it's interesting because I do some work with the prison system, which is like full of people who have made choices that are, not good at all. And I just want to recognize the fact that, a lot of us make choices in our life that are not the most beneficial. And for whatever reason, we do that. I've definitely made my own choices that are not the best. That being said, I just want to recognize and kind of give you some credit of just like the fact that um, you're recognizing that even though your highest degree is a high school diploma, um, that can be a major benefit for you. I worked with a guy at a company. He didn't ever finish high school, um, and he was incredible, hardworking, smart, and I really feel that a lot of the time, like a degree doesn't really matter. Of course, this is coming from some guy who's got 2 degrees on his wall, um, but realize that like the people that I've worked with, some of them don't even have a high school diploma, and they're doing the same stuff that any software developer, data scientist is doing. And if anything, like it brings so much more diversity to the the work because like otherwise you're just in a room full of PhDs and everything is what it is. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for showing up today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing. It's when you're going to school and working, man, that's tough. It
Yeah,
is tough. I mean, when I did my master's, I did it part time. It took me 5 years,
yeah,
and I was taking classes every semester. It was, and that's just for a master's. I mean, a bachelor's is a lot more demanding. So, um, it's tough, man.
yeah,
We know it's tough. But like Matt said, it's not so. I think the fact that you're pursuing it and you're still trying to make yourself better. I mean, that's what counts. And employers see that. People that you work with see that, and I think that's what the most important thing is. Keep trying to improve. Keep trying to get better. and then
And
the certs, the degrees, all that stuff that comes along with it. You'll get there. Just keep on moving forward.
yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is that treat yourself like you would treat a friend, because like I know for myself, like I treat myself like crap sometimes. Like I'm a real jerk. It's just like I gotta do all this stuff and like take on all of these things. Um, Sometimes the best solution, especially when you're working and you're studying and all of that, is to just take a breather. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with like taking 6 years to do a bachelor or however many years you need to do. Um, and I think there's some real science behind that too. So BJ Fogg is a behavioral scientist guy, and his big thing is like if you want to learn how to do push-ups, do one push-up. Like you can't do 50 at once. So like just start with one, and then just work up. But really like I'm almost speaking to myself at this point. It's just like, look, man, like, you, sometimes I treat myself really harsh, because it's like, oh, I haven't done like what I wanted to do. But that's okay. We're just where we're at, and like you're doing the thing, man. So like keep after it. You'll get there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Adrian, I'm curious to hear from you, like a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi. Before I just introduce myself, I just want to say how glad I am to hear from Joe that he spent 5 years on his master's. As someone who is still working on his master's from 2016,
Yeah.
that's comforting to hear that I'm not the only one in that boat. But hopefully I'll be done by the end of the summer. So.
Awesome.
So yeah, about myself, I just joined Sharpest Mind. I just started earlier this week, and I'm also doing like a separate data fellowship on the side that's more focused on social impact. So I'm really taking a summer to up my tech stack, but my main goal is to be, and that's something I'll be interested to hear from the both of you, is how do you grow and how do you consciously apply yourselves to become deliberate in your programming and your data analysis. And that's really what I want to do, because I've been starting to really program over the last 2 years. I took a boot camp, and that really catalyzed a lot of my workflow.
Mm.
I still find myself sometime, I don't know, brute forcing myself through problems, and I try to like kind of like stop, slow down, kind of like understand the statistics behind things, understand the syntax, and it's something I think there's no like magic bullet. It's kind of like just an iteration of trying to um, really understand each component of what goes into good code.
Yeah.
So that's something I really love to hear from the both of you.
Mm.
I come from my undergrad was in geography and GIS, so that's
Oh,
why I
cool.
started, and I was not really out of college. I was getting some job experiences, but nothing in the field where I felt like I belonged. I worked for a geo-targeted mobile ad firm. I mean, it was not really challenging work. Um, so I eventually went back to grad school because I just wanted to really apply my technical skill set for in the environmental sector, which is a quite hard to break into. And I'm at a point where it's like I'm just really looking to just become better applying technology and then eventually make that move to the environmental field. That's kind of like my career aspiration as it is right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the apprehension that I have being in that space is that I don't have like I'm sure you'll say maybe it's not like it doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things, but I'm not like I don't have like a formal education in data science. I don't have formal education in computer science, statistics, and I know that it's everybody has a different path towards programming, and there's no like cookie cutter pathway
Yeah.
for people in that space. But I just feel like um, I don't want to be kind of like jumping the gun. Like I'm always very careful when I work with data. The last thing I want to do is give out wrong information. I don't want to misinterpret like a model. I don't want to make false conclusion, like lead people to false conclusion. That's always been my main fear in that field. So maybe if you want to also speak a little bit about that and kind of like maybe the ethics of working in this field.
Oh wow, yeah, ethics. It's a deep one. Yeah, so the programming thing, it's a very interesting question. I'll give you a little background on my programming experience. I've been more or less a professional programmer since about 2009. But before that, I mean, I spent a lot of my childhood like messing around with C++ and C and stuff, and just really curious. The interesting thing is that programming is really important, but it's almost like important to be able to like codify for myself. Like it's important for me to be able to codify like what I'm trying to do. So whether it's automation or analysis, so like a lot of the stuff I do these days is very much in Jupyter notebooks or like Streamlit or something. And it's like I'm trying to codify or model some data into something. So like a prediction of some kind. And I think there's so many different ways to skin that. I mean, of course, there's like, I could give you the answer of like, just go with the community, which is a good approach of just like, yeah, learn Python really well, learn Scala maybe. And that's a really great approach for professional learning, which is important for getting a job. So like, you got to know Python, you got to know like some JavaScript, some maybe Scala. And then depending, like maybe you go work for aerospace, you got to learn like Ada or something. I think that's really important. But what helped me the most in terms of learning programming really well, there's a book out there called, it's like 7 Languages in 7 Weeks or something like that. It's important to learn different paradigms of programming because, Python is a multi-paradigm language, but it's really useful to understand what does object orientation mean? What does functional programming mean? And you don't have to become like a Haskell programmer or like go way down the rabbit hole. But it's important to know like what is functional programming trying to do? Why do they do it that way? That's helped me the most. I think other than that, I'm a big fan of the, really being curious when I don't know something. So like if I have a new tool that I'm using and I've never seen it before, and I'm, instead of like being like, I don't want to learn it, I start to dig in more. So just having a keen eye for like, the areas that you don't know. But yeah, I think learning different paradigms is probably the most helpful thing that I did for my programming experience.
Yeah, another thing I would just point out is whatever you decide to do, whether it's Python or another programming language, is do it every day, at least an hour a day. At the very least 30 minutes a day. It's like at least set up that time. I recommend doing it first thing in the morning or like, first thing when you sit down at your computer. Is do it every single day and always look to learn and grow, have a project that you're working on that's interesting that hopefully can help you get a job or is something specific to the domain that you're interested in. But do it every single day. That builds confidence. That also helps you grow. The other thing is don't do it in a vacuum. So if there's other folks like students that you're going to school with, the Sharpest Minds community, other communities on LinkedIn, Kaggle, there's a ton of opportunities to kind of meet and network with other data scientists. and to work on things together. And so I don't think people take advantage of that as much as they should, to work with other people. I mean, even in these times, it's actually easier because everybody's home. So, it's a little bit easier but when things lift up with the whole coronavirus situation, you could do them live and get together with people in your area through meetups and whatnot.
Yep.
But the reason why I say this, and I think this is really important when you're learning anything, especially programming, is everything that I've learned, I've either learned in school or on a job or doing some collaboration with somebody. And it's that dialogue and that personal interaction that you need to explain things. You need to ask questions. You get stuck on something and you can go to somebody and say, how do you do this? Or do you understand object-oriented programming? Because I don't really understand like difference between a method and an attribute. Like, where are they going there? And sometimes it just takes somebody like giving you a short 2-minute explanation on something that's totally like, okay, now I get it, kind of thing. So do it every day, and do it with other people as much as you can.
Yeah, I really want to reiterate, like, what Joe says is so important. I learned some programming off, reading a book or that kind of stuff, and that's great. So focused study is great. So what I was talking about, like, learn about, multi-paradigms, that kind of stuff. Absolutely wonderful. Do it. But seriously, just being able to sit down with somebody in any capacity, whether it's Slack or like video chat, like we're doing right here. I mean, shoot, like Zoom exists, and like you could share your screen and be like, I'm struggling with this problem, like help me out with it. That has been more beneficial to me than anything else in terms of learning programming, because I can see what other people do. And it's interesting because there's so much to that. I feel that software development, data science is very much an art in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, there's a lot of science and there's a lot of statistics and there's a lot of like computer science and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like a lot of it is very artful. What does good code look like? I don't know. It's very much a feel. And I always think back, like my dad was a welder, and he always talked about stack of dimes was like how you do welds. And it's one of these things of like, I can say that to you, but until you see somebody actually sit there and do it, it doesn't really sink in. It's very much the same thing. It's just like, yeah, you kind of get the idea of stack of dimes, but like until you see somebody's hand move and like all of the body language and everything, and it doesn't sink in. Same thing with programming. Having somebody who's not smarter, but more experienced, or somebody who's gone through something before is so valuable and vastly underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. You pick up on things that are kind of like de facto standards or norms.
Yeah.
Styles and things like that. There's quite a few of that in data science and in Python. You'll hear the term Pythonic, right? Your code is Pythonic. There's like certain things, and it's just, as humans, we're good at recognizing patterns, right? Like, so the more you look at it, the more you do it with somebody else, that feedback and that correction happens kind of without you thinking about it, because you're like, okay, I did this differently. Why is this person doing it different than the way I'm doing it, right? Is it just the style thing, or is this what most people do? Those are the types of things you figure out by working with others. Cool. All right, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, another thing you kind of touched on, Adrian, you started talking about a couple things here. But I think Matt and I plan to talk about goal setting today. And, I think that one thing from the very get-go with goal setting is that the more clear you are on the goal, the better chance you have of achieving it in life, whatever that may be, right? So like in your situation, it's like you have some ideas on what you want to do, and I think Garrett, you're kind of in the same boat. But the closer you can get to having a clear idea of, let's say, what kind of job you want to get, right? What's the kind of company that you want to work for? What, what would you be doing? What domain would you be in? What are those things that are interesting to you? The more clear you can get on that, the better it will help guide you forward from that point. And it doesn't, and there's also this concept of goal settings of, how big of a goal does it have to be attainable, right? Like how big does it have to be realistic, right? And sort of my recommendation for that is I would say shoot for what you want, right? Like even if it's not really like if you don't think it's attainable at first, like, there was one point you had said it's hard to break into that area, right? So, I mean, I would set that as your goal. Like, hey, if you're passionate about doing something and working in a particular field and doing a certain type of work, hey, man, go for it. And, you might find out down the road that may not be what you want to do anymore. And you can kind of have maybe like a secondary goal that you might think is a little bit more attainable. That's kind of related, so that, if you start going down that path and you don't quite make it to the main goal, maybe hit that secondary goal. Yep. But the more clear you can get on what that is, the easier it will be to kind of take those steps in that direction.
Yeah, personally, like when it comes to goals, I've been setting goals like a very long time in my life, and it's worked out very well for me. And it's like I made a goal in 2013 to write a commercially published book. That was my goal. And I don't think that many people understand like how much aversion I had to that. I like almost flunked out of like English in high school multiple times because I really struggled with writing. So for me, it was an absolutely unattainable goal. Just kind of like, I have no idea how I'd ever do this. And the thing that helped me through that were a couple of things. One is, one, I had a friend who was just like a big believer. So surrounding myself with people who believed in me was really big. But breaking it down, I mean, shoot, writing a book, okay, like probably 300 pages long. It's a lot of work. And I wasn't doing it for the money because if I calculated my time, it'd probably be like less than minimum wage. But it just comes down to simple things. It's like to write a book, it's like 4 pages of just text a day. And then I edit and that's it, 4 pages. It's just like, well, I could do 4 pages. That's not so bad. The thing is that like unattainable goals, most of the time can be broken down into smaller and smaller chunks until you get to something that you're like, yeah, I could do that. And it's like I said earlier, if a goal is that you want to, do 50 push-ups at once, you got to be able to do one, and most of us can do a push-up, right? And maybe you can't. Maybe you need to start on, do the knees or like up against a wall or something like that. I think it's so important that a goal is important enough that you start to break it down and get really, really clear. So another thing that's really big for me is a lot of the time I have a lot of fear of my goals. And that sounds really funny. It's like a fear of success or a fear of failure, of just like, oh geez, maybe I won't write a book or maybe I won't do this. And the thing that really helps me get through that is to get clear as to like what's really at risk if I succeed or I don't succeed. And that really helps me just get clear. And honestly, it's simple. Open up a Google Doc and just like write some of the ideas down, break it down, get as clear as you possibly can. And it works. It works very simply, very well.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard the term SMART goals. That's a popular thing. Yep. So real quick, if you haven't heard of it, SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, um, attainable. R is I don't think it's realistic, maybe.
Yeah.
And T is time based.
Yep.
So the important things in those is obviously specific, right? Like it's good to get specific, measurable. Like how will you know if you achieved it or not? That's measurable. Attainable is something people will debate, right? We kind of talked about that. Like maybe it doesn't have to be easy. It doesn't, but it certainly needs to be something that's realistic, right? I'm not going to play in the NFL. I've kind of accepted that so at this point in my life. But time-based is very important, right? So, you do want to set a time limit for whatever goal it is. And you can always change that time limit, but I think it's just important to know that, to look at it every day, to write it down, to look at that goal every day is what keeps you focused on it. And, just whether it's programming or whatever you have to do is just do something every day that's going to help you move towards that goal.
Yeah.
So SMART is one way. It's a little corny and kind of cliche in the world of personal development, but I think it's a good place to start to help you achieve clarity on what you want to actually accomplish.
Yep. Yeah, I love the SMART goal stuff, and I think it really helps helps me. That's for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's a good like milepost or something tangible. It's easy to kind of when you're writing down your goal, think about, does it meet these 5 criteria?
Yeah.
Tony Robbins has a big program called the RPM program, results, purpose management, results purpose management, something like that. I forget the acronym, but one of the components of that is when you're writing down your goals, not only are they SMART, but also there's a big why attached to them. Yeah. Right? So like why do you want to do this? Like what is it going to get you? Like at the end, what is the big deal? Like really, what is the drive behind this? I mean, there's so many things you could choose to do. Why is this thing going to be your main goal at this point?
No.
And when you connect to that, it's those days where you really don't feel like doing anything, right? You'd rather binge watch Netflix or something. Those are the days that, you have to get to that why. You have to look at that, what you wrote down to answer that question, and just know that, all right, I'm going to start a little bit. You know what? Maybe I just do 15 minutes of programming today.
Yeah.
And you get moving in that direction. And, most people find is once you start doing something, you probably will keep doing it a little bit longer.
So I'm curious if any one of you have a goal that has popped into your mind. If you got one that you want to share, I mean, it's like obviously not everybody needs to share their goals, but I know Garrick, you talked about breaking into more of this data science stuff, getting a better job. I know Adrian, you were talking about your master's degree. That might be one. Also, by the way, it took me 4 years to finish my master's degree. So I'm curious, like, what's top of mind for you guys? What is the thing that would bring you some, like the fulfillment? What is the thing that you could look back on and say, wow, I did that, and feel proud? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a goal. It's more like, the way I think about it is that I have essentially, I got furloughed due to the pandemic, and I've been stuck at home. And even though it feels like people's sense of time is messed up, to me, I still feel like time is flying by very fast. Yeah. And I really do want to make the most out of it. And for me, this summer represents an opportunity for me to really I want to feel like I don't know if I can call it like if I can say like I want to feel like an accomplished programmer, but I do want to be at a state where like I feel I'm much more confident about my abilities.
Yeah.
So that my goal, I mean, a concrete goal that I have is that by the end of this year, I am able to at least have one job offer.
Mm. Okay.
That's a concrete goal that I have, and take being involved with Sharpest Mind over the summer and like involved in my other like data fellowship. This is really meant to kind of like kick my own ass and really try to improve as much as I can within a time period.
Yeah.
Just trying to really accelerate my learning and really try to just not just kind of like know how to apply functions, but like understand what makes a good programmer. Understand how to not so much having to look up code all the time on Stack Overflow, but learning to be more deliberate and like pseudocode maybe a solution before like just like jumping right into it.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of like that's the objective I have set for myself uh, for the time being.
Okay. So what? So I'll mirror back to you, and you can tell me if I got this right or wrong. So you big goal of getting a job offer. That's kind of the like within the before the end of the year, like you want a job offer, and then back from that a step is becoming a more confident programmer, somebody who can sit down and code, and I know that you've been doing sharpest minds and that kind of stuff and learning and kind of the programming dojo, so to speak. I guess my question to you is what is it that would get you to feel like a confident programmer? Is it a state of being, or is it just being able to write code for a specific amount of time? So I'm curious what it means to you to be a confident programmer.
I think it means that when I apply for jobs, I don't feel crippling anxiety
Mm.
because oftentimes I just kind of like see the requirements. I know it's always kind of like overblown. I know they're trying to like they're trying to get the best candidate at the lowest price. That's usually how the job market works.
Mm.
And for me, when I'm seeing, I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area, so there's a lot of high skill, high level competition. And for me, it's like, it's not that I don't have anything to offer, but I know that I'm not like the best of the best of the best. And I don't think I can be necessarily, maybe that's not even what I need to do. I just want to be able to be at a point where I'm like, just really confident about what I bring to the table. And, I also like also maybe move to a point where, I'm not like pretending to one day compete with like PhDs who like
Sure.
build machine learning models for a living. What I want to do is like get to a point where I can be a resource for people to come to and get help with.
Absolutely.
I have something to offer. Maybe I have a bit of a niche with GIS. So I'm not looking to necessarily like again. I don't want to be arrogant and think that I bring something to the table that's equivalent to someone who has done like years of studies in data science or computer science. But I do want to kind of like just be confident about what is it that I bring to the table. And I feel like most of the time when I apply for jobs, when it comes to like writing a cover letter, it's like, it's like, yeah, sure. I mean, I know these things, but I don't think I'm going to be convincing anyone. So.
Okay. Let me just reiterate. I'll say that I can't stand interviews myself because I get super nervous and can't remember anything. Can't even remember what I get super nervous. So I just want to tell you that you're not alone in feeling that way. I will say that this is just a suggestion. I find that for myself, especially since when I was a kid, like I had like crippling amounts of anxiety of talking to people on the phone. And the thing that helped me was practicing. And this is kind of a question to you and something to think about, is if you find yourself very anxious in an interview and you can't remember all of the awesome stuff that you already know, like GIS, which I'm jealous about because I don't know a damn thing about GIS, then practice. There's nothing wrong with asking a friend or somebody who's, you know, more skilled in this stuff to interview you. And it takes practice. If you want to go through the developer interviews with massive success, we all have to practice. And the thing that helped me get through my crippling anxiety of not wanting to talk to people on the phone is that I literally practiced for years and years and years. And I used to do Toastmasters, and it was great because I could just go and speak about whatever the hell I wanted to speak about, and people would listen to me. That being said, keep a keen eye on to what you can always do better, because I think the question that I would pose to you, and I mean, you don't have to necessarily answer this, is just like, do you think that you're better off? Do you think that you're smarter today than you were like a year ago? If that's the case, you're growing, you're learning, you're doing great. I think that the trap we all get stuck in is we compare ourselves to other people. I don't have a PhD, so I'm constantly feeling like I'm the odd duck doing data science. But I don't know, I'm smarter than I was a week ago, and that's all that really matters. And I think, you know, wherever you are, you know, in your career, there is a place for you somewhere. And I think that the anxiety of doing a interview is totally warranted. I mean, I think that they're kind of borderline hazing in how they're set up sometimes. But you can definitely practice. And that's what I would say.
Yeah, practice is so key. It really is. There's a really awesome YouTube talk. I think it's a TED talk by a guy by the name of Josh Kaufman with a K.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
But I know
the ukulele. So he talks about learning, right, and how you can basically learn anything in 20 hours. And he demonstrates a use case by learning the ukulele, which I'm trying. Okay, I'm not ready to play for you. I'm on about hour 2 right now.
You're going to be playing Bohemian Rhapsody next, right?
No. But one of the things that he mentions, there's basically 4 steps to this. And the first step is to learn with any kind of skill, whether it's programming, data science, whatever it is, that's going to help you find the job, right? Because that's ultimately what this is about. This is you want to get a job. You need to be confident that you have the skills and come off in an interview saying that, yeah, I'm confident I could do this. This is, you know, I do this every single day. I've been doing this for a while. You want to be able to say that. So I think with the first point that Josh Kaufman makes in this learning process is no matter what the skill is, always learn enough so that you can self-evaluate. And this has really changed the way I look at things and ever since I listened to this talk, because you will notice that whether it's programming is you'll go and you'll do something, you'll learn enough, you'll go and you'll do something, and then you take a step back and you need to self-evaluate. And there's going to be times where you don't know, right? You don't know whether or not you did it right. And that causes you to go out and find out why, right? That causes you to go out and say, okay, now I need to figure out how I can evaluate what I'm doing. And this happens on interviews all the time. I interviewed, what's today? Thursday? Tuesday with a very, very well-known large company. Every one of you will know it. It was the most, it was exciting for me. I'm not looking for a job right now. I own my own company, but the recruiter reached out to me and I said, I cannot pass up an interview with this. I was confident. I mean, this is what I do. I train people on interview. I went into the interview. The interview went what I thought was pretty well. There was a good interaction. Um, the person I was interviewing with was extremely intelligent. One of the smartest people I think I've ever talked to. It was intimidating in that sense. But after the interview, I went back and I self-evaluated and I went through my notes, tried to remember what I talked about and the answers that I gave. And when I went back, there was probably like 10 things I'm like, I would have totally done that differently the next time around. Right? So I think it's that process, whether and what a point that Matt made about practicing interviewing, and Garrick will know this because we work together, and Vlad too was on the line, is Adrian, no matter where you are, start interviewing, right? Start applying for jobs, start interviewing just to get the practice involved, because that practice allows you to go back and self-evaluate.
Yeah.
Now, the key thing you got to do is you got to figure out how to self-evaluate. But that's the start. Is you go back, you look at the interview, and you say, okay, you know what? He was really looking for humility in the answer, and I didn't give him humility. You go back and you think, okay, when you evaluate, you're like, what are they looking for in this question? What do they need to see from me?
Yeah.
And then you can evaluate whether or not that was the answer you gave. So I hope that's helpful. Learning to self-evaluate is key. Going out there and doing it, whether it's interviewing, programming, whatever it is you're trying to learn and master, go out and do it, and then come back and self-evaluate. And get feedback from other people as well if it's available. No doubt.
Yeah, the self-evaluation thing that I use, I'll throw it out there for everybody. I don't use the sandwich technique anymore, which is for those of you who don't know, it's like, this is what you did well, this is what you did bad, and this is what you did really well. So it's like you make you feel better. I got tired of that after a while, to be honest. So what I use is the things that I've done well. When I'm evaluating myself or somebody else, I will ask the question, what did I do, and why was it important? So that's the things that I did well. What did I do? Why was it important? The things that I need to improve upon, notice I'm not saying I did it bad. The things that I need to improve upon, I will say, what did I do? What should I have done instead? And then why should I have done that instead? So what, why? So what, why for the good stuff, what, why for the things I need to improve. Very simple to remember, easy to kind of say, yeah, I stumbled on this question. Really, I should have been more prepared. This is important because this is the type of job that I want to get, something like that. And it just helps myself organize my thoughts. Otherwise, it can devolve into, it could be a little too masochistic. You got to be kind to yourself too. so don't beat yourself up, but yeah, so that's what I throw out.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Don't beat yourself up. I mean, I think that anybody, hey man, you're trying. The worst thing you can do is give up and quit. And you know what? Sometimes that's okay too if your desires change, right? Like maybe you don't want to do this anymore. It's goal, but don't quit because it's hard. Don't quit because you need to learn more. You need to prove. Like celebrate that.
Yeah.
Celebrate that, and just know, hey man, you're trying. And everybody will respect you for that. No
Celebrate
doubt.
the win. Yeah, really.
Cool. Good talks. Good questions. Great questions, guys. Anything else? Any other questions or things that you want to talk about? We're here.
Yeah. I guess a question is, say you have I guess for example, I would love to put out like quality tutorial videos on things like and Joe knows I was briefly for 2 years a physics teacher and engineering teacher, and so I love being in front of people and explaining something. And I know there's a whole ecosystem of instructional videos out there, from everything from cooking to physics to everything. And I would love to break into that space. And I know and I've proven to myself that I could do it. But like how do you go from say a goal like that, I even understand, I even come across, when instructors have become more open, that they're like, oh, this was a long time. I was putting out weekly YouTube videos for a year before I got my first 100 views on a video or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess, so maybe I'm answering my own question here. It's like, how do you, get to, how do you distill this goal that is going to be years off,
Yeah.
before it even looks like it starts accelerating
Yeah.
towards that goal? How do you distill that to the kind of daily goal
Yeah.
of like, like I mean, I'm at the point where it's like, I guess it's part of me is that like my uh uh is that like I like things to be perfect, and even though I know like the first video out there might get just 5 views, but I will beat myself up of like it has to be perfect, unless it's getting tons of great feedback and getting
Yeah.
hundreds of views.
Yeah.
I had the trepidation of having to put it out there, right? And so yeah, like how do you motivate yourself to, or even how do you distill those big goals
Yeah.
to a SMART goal?
So
Man, love
I
that
guess the question I have is what exactly is the goal, Gary? Is it that you want to put a tutorial video on YouTube or something else?
Um, I mean the big goal is, yeah, to have a series of, like a tutorial on YouTube.
Okay.
Um, uh, even
Yeah.
just a series of them. But like, yeah, I had the trouble of like what taking the first step. I like, yeah, even really the last few weeks, I'm like, should I buy a camera and do like literally, hand and paper, or should I get like screen capture technology? Like these are things that like, I'm just like, what at this point, what is the right choice? Because some of these things can be expensive investments, that I don't know, and probably, again, I might be answering my own question, is like just get that first video out there, and see if I even enjoy that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Take enough
interesting.
pleasure out of it. Just imagine I could do it every week or something.
Yeah. You have a very, it's a, I love this question. I mean, I love the idea of what you're going down. Here's the thing. We can focus on the end product, or we can focus on the process, right? So what I mean by that is like, there's some people on YouTube who have millions of views. They have amazing stuff, and it's like, well, that's the end product. Is like, I get the sense that it's like you have some things that you want to teach people, and you want to make an impact, and that's awesome. And that's the end product. The problem is that you're not going to get there overnight. It's not like a, well, I just turn it on and it's good to go, and now I'm like a huge YouTube celebrity. It just doesn't work that way, right? And so the process is really where the goal lies. And the thing that is so helpful, I believe, is one, taking it down to the absolute bare minimum of what it takes to get the first video out. Um, Screen capture, whatever's easiest. You don't have to buy any equipment. You don't have to do anything. Just like turn on your screen, talk at a Google spreadsheet for like an hour. I mean, it doesn't matter. Start with the absolute simplest possible thing that you can do, because just that act itself is good enough. Just get the worst thing out of the way, because the worst thing is the most important thing. Because the first one's going to be the worst one, and you got to do it. Yeah, it's going to be bad. And
So
put it
true.
out there, and just like let the hatred come of the internet, which probably will be none, by the way. Get it out there, and then from there, look at the video, and with that like self evaluation, say, what can I do better? and then pick like maybe one or two things, and that's your new goal. And you say, you know what, I need to see my face, so I need to get a webcam or something. Just take a little bit at a time. And the other thing I would say is like focus on the habit more so than the goal. The habit, the goal, is really doing this a little bit each day or a little bit each week or something. Making the time in your schedule and saying, no matter what happens, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on this at this time on this day, that kind of a thing. But process over the product. Forget about the product because, the product won't come for a while.
The first one is usually the worst one, right? It's usually
it's just it's going to be terrible, and it's just like just own it. You know,
it happens for all of us. Anybody that's ever created anything, it's even well-known celebrities, like you ever go back and you listen to like some artist's like first album or something, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And or like somebody's, go look at a celebrity these nowadays and like look at their first movie that they were ever in. Like you're like, this is terrible. It's just a matter, like Matt said, it's just you got to get out there, put it out there, and do it. Like with the YouTube video, you could literally just go on your phone and pick a topic and put like 3 bullet items at something you want to talk about, right? And Garrett, from the first time we met, when you were telling me about your background, I immediately thought like, being a trainer and being a teacher, like if that's something you love to do, you're in a special class, and there's no better way to learn anything than to teach it. Yeah. So if you're starting your career in data science, you're starting the learning process, the best thing you could do is go out and teach these concepts to anybody who's going to listen, right? And whether that's on YouTube or Udemy or wherever you find a place for that, is I encourage you to go out and do that. And you can easily do that face to camera, just describing something. And then kind of take it from there. You could do screenshots. There's so much we could talk about. I'm getting some comments here. So Adrian, you got to get going. Awesome. Great.
I do, yeah. But I want to thank you both again. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you.
And Vlad, we'll get to your question in just a minute. I know you had something posted there. But just to kind of wrap, there's so much we could talk about in shooting videos, and maybe this is something you and I could take offline, or you and Matt could take offline. Yeah. But I've taught on Udemy. I started teaching there, probably about 5 years ago. I have a number of courses on Udemy, YouTube, etc. The best way to do it, the easiest way to do it really is if you have screen capture software, and I think YouTube might even actually do this now. Is just go in and walk through a Jupyter notebook, go on, have your face on the camera like it is right now, and just say, hey guys, I'm Garrett, today I'm going to talk about, whatever, training a SVM model, right? And how do you do that in like 10 lines of code, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. So, you just walk through your Jupyter notebook, play it, and there you go. You got a 7-minute video that you can post on YouTube. And start a YouTube channel that way.
Yeah, I want to say Loom would do it. Yeah, put you in the little corner. Loom, it's like useloom.com. It's just a browser extension. Yeah, easy. Cool. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, there's so many like
what was that again?
Free tools.
I'll find it and put it in the chat for you. It's use Loom. Yeah, loom.com. So loom.com. It's a great tool. It's literally like just shares your screen, and then you can talk, and you got your little circle in the corner. It's perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, so I would start there. I mean, YouTube is certainly easy to do, to publish something. If you want to get more serious about it and actually make some money off of it, I suggest you do sign up on Udemy and create a course on Udemy. And the reason why I say that is there is some quality assurance process involved. So they will give you feedback. Like if your video quality isn't up to par, they'll give you feedback on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, my own personal experience working with them, working with Pact. I mean, Matt does online trading webinars for O'Reilly. It's like the best thing of these publishers is that they give you this feedback, and now it makes you better because now you know you have a better process to create your courses and create your training. Is now you know what to look for. You know, they'll tell you what screen resolution should be, what the frame rates, all the technical stuff that makes quality, the quality courses. So, yeah, dude, it's just a matter of just going out there, putting yourself out there, and you know, do it like no one's gonna look at it. You know, then you don't have to worry about anything. You know, you get some hate comments, you just delete them. That's all.
Everybody gets hate comments too. I mean, like some jerk's gonna say something awful, and one piece of advice: when that happens, which it will, realize that they're not talking to you; they're talking to the online persona of you. So they're not talking to you. So whenever you see that, it's literally they're not even talking to you. And most of the time it comes down to them too. So like it's just like they're in a bad spot or something, and they just want to be a jerk on the internet. So legitimately, like
you know what the weirdest thing is? I one time thought I was doing a rant on a comment or something, and the poster came back to me like, "Thank you for your kind words," and I was like, I just didn't realize that like that's how my language came across because I didn't use anything snide or anything. I was just sort of letting off. I was sort of critiquing what they were doing, but I tend to write this long sort of post as a comment, and then I sort of reread it and like, yeah, there was no, even though in my mind as I was writing it, I was being critical and snide and why would you do this? But none of that came across in the comments. So I sort of go back to that, even as I just like there is a way to read things online that aren't that like I guess I tend to read everything online as a snarky comment, and I don't recognize that like that could be completely not what they had in mind.
You don't know where people are at. They could be in a really weird spot. I mean, and plus some people don't speak English as a first language, so then it comes across differently. I mean, there's 1,000 different reasons why comments are sometimes trolly. And then sometimes people just want to be jerks and stir the pot. And so it's like it's not about the creator. It's about they just feel bad, So yeah, so just don't take it personally when it happens because it will at some point.
Did I ever tell you about the time that someone called me the fat Brenda Bashar?
Oh my god,
it was hilarious.
Yeah,
no, I put out a video. And I was actually paying for Facebook ads, so I was paying for this, putting out the video.
Yeah.
And some, jerk wrote that in the comments, and I was like, now I gotta pay to have people see this. Like I was like, come on.
Oh, dude, yeah, I got Ted Bundy. Somebody was just like, oh, you look like Ted Bundy. I was just like, what? I'm like, well, I guess Ted Bundy was a good-looking guy, so I mean, that's nice, I guess.
Yeah.
You just gotta laugh at the people are idiots.
Yeah, it's not personal. It's not to the person behind the message. It's online, and I think that's a really important thing as you go down this road. Just to put that out there.
And then, don't let the fear of that stop you from doing it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so we're past the hour now. I just want to answer Vlad's question real quick. So he's asking the hiring dropped about 80% since the start of the fake pandemic. Okay. Do you know if it's recovered? Is there a good proxy for hiring rates? So, all right. So this is the question. So the 80% number I'm taking is probably coming from what Edward said on Sharpest Minds about the placement rate of people in Sharpest Minds. I mean, I don't know statistics. I mean, data scientists, they always want numbers and everything. I don't have statistics on what the market is doing. I can tell you this. recruiters are still, I'm getting 3 or 4 recruiter emails a day still. You go out and you do a job search, and there's jobs that come up in the search, right? And there's comments on the top of those jobs that say, we're still hiring in the face of COVID-19. So regardless of what statistics are, there are jobs out there. And, if you're looking for a job, the way you get them is it's a numbers game. You got to apply to them every day. The more you apply to, the more likelihood you are to get a call for an interview.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's totally a numbers game. So insurance people do this. This is, I learned this from insurance agents. Legitimately, if you're looking for a job right now, take your entire contact list, go down it, and just ask if they know of anybody who's looking for somebody like you. Because most likely somebody in your network. And if you don't know somebody in your network, then just ask the people in your network to ask somebody else. Because honestly, in these markets that are a little bit more recession-like, it'll just take a little bit more work. But it's just a numbers game. So keep applying, keep trying. And the jobs are still out there. I see them too, especially in technology. Of course, if somebody was looking for a job at a restaurant or travel industry, those jobs are probably pretty much all furloughed, a lot of them. But there are still jobs in healthcare, technology, e-commerce. There's a lot of industries still humming along just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up. Matt, did you want to do the?
Yeah. So I got something for you guys since you're hanging out. We're doing a giveaway of just books that this will be, I think, until the end of the month. So I'm gonna put this into the channel here. We're just doing a quick giveaway. So these books Joe and I picked. They're just 4 books that are very beneficial to us. Whoever wins this, it's just a contest. So basically you throw your email in there, and if you win, we'll just send you the books in the mail. There's no fancy stuff behind that. You get more points if you invite more people to it. So that's something to think about. We're really just honestly trying to give out these books that honestly changed our life. These 4 books, big impact. So the Guide to the Good Life is a thing from my perspective of stoicness and the Stoic philosophy, very beneficial. But the other 3 books, Think and Grow Rich, 4-Hour Work Week, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. These are incredible books. And I know they changed my life, all 4 of them. And I know Joe recommended the Think and Grow Rich, 4-Hour Work Week, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So we agree about those 3. I'm just an oddball, I guess.
But I love you, man. You always come up with this.
It's just the weirdo, man.
This is weird stuff. It's
great. No. But yeah, it's just a thing we're doing. No real catch to it beyond Joe and I have been doing more of this stuff, and we're looking for more people to join us. And I really just want to appreciate you, Garrick, and Vlad for showing up today, and Adrian too. I know you had to drop off. It means a lot to us. I think Joe and I really enjoy doing this because I could be doing other things, but I'd rather be doing this right now. So this is really just a gift to the world right now, which I think the world needs a couple of gifts right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So if you guys just enter that to win the books, and the more you share this with people. We're grateful to be able to spend the time with you guys, but we like to grow the amount of people that we can have on these calls and reach and get the community a little bit, to build this community where people in data science actually care about personal development and care about improving people's lives. So we need your guys' help to do that, to kind of spread the word. And this is a little fun way to do it. Yeah, I mean, going forward, you guys, we do have we also have a coaching program that Matt and I are releasing. With that, I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is just send you the details in the email. There is some, some incentives for those of you who would join the coaching program initially. So I'll let you guys digest that. And if you have any questions, we can go back to it. Does it sound good, Matt, or do you want to go on?
Sounds great to me. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's something that we're putting together where you guys can kind of do more of this stuff if you enjoy being on the calls and you want to get more advice. I know Garrick and Vlad, we kind of have a relationship already, so you guys can reach out to me and through Sharpest Minds, as both of you have my email addresses. So I'm not gonna hard pitch the two of you guys on this right now because you already can access me. But I'll send more details in the follow-up email after the call. And for those of you who missed it or watching on the replay, you can find out more about the program that Matt and I have if you want to continue and talk some more.
I love the replay, guys, because there's always somebody who watches it on the replay. And then shout out to all the people watching this on a replay. So
awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so much fun.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure to see all of you again. And keep moving forward. Keep doing what you guys do. Have a great week, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
See y'all later.
Matt.
See you.